how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward.
To infinity and beyond!
Some people without brains do an awful lot of talking, don't they?
It's classified.
You talking to me?
I could tell you, but then I'd have to kill you.
I can't lie!
Expecto Patronum!
Entertainment X.
You never know what you're going to get.
For this episode, I chat with Nathan Reid and Justin Giddings. Nathan is an actor turned writer, still acting / producer / continuing to create, a go-getter, a doer, etc., etc. Justin Giddings is the same, essentially. He is known as the KickStarter guy. We talk about asking. We talk about greenlighting yourself, saying yes. And these two guys are definitely a force to be reckoned with. I think there's a lot that can be taken away from the countless stories that they share in regards to just creating their own work. And it was a very, very energizing conversation for me. And I hope it does the same for you, and that there's some takeaways you can get from our extensive conversation. The three of us could definitely do a part 2, 3, and 4. So, and we just might. So enjoy this episode and keep on keeping on. We're back. I'm Clayton Howe, and today with me is Nathan Reid and Justin Giddings. Woo. Here in the flesh. Thank you guys for coming all the way over to the podcast studios on the west side.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
This is exciting. Of course. So I want to get right into it. Let's start with you. Tell me the story from beginning to present day.
Yeah, it's really, really simple. I'm an actor, writer, creator. I want to be big things. And what I started to realize was the industry exists in a certain game. There are certain rules. I call it a really bad game of Monopoly. Monopoly never ends with anybody ever happy. They flip over the table and no one wants to play the game. But everyone, but everyone keeps saying, "Oh, let's play a game of Monopoly," and I'm like, "This isn't gonna end well."
Right.
So it's the best analogy of going. Everyone knows that you have to roll the dice in Monopoly. Everybody knows that you have to pay luxury tax, whatever it is.
You're right.
But what started to happen is that I found that I was surrounded by a bunch of people that complained about the game, but didn't know how to beat the game. Didn't know how to get around the game. It was just regurgitated complaining of the game, of the industry, of how it works, Broadway, like TV, film, whatever it was. Right. Same rules for everyone, and they suck. Mm-hmm. So I went, all right, I look a little bit like Bradley Cooper and a little bit like Adam Levine, and I have none of their credits. And so every time I walk into a room, I'm pretty much auditioning for something that's already been packaged by a major agency, and actually reading the reports from Deadline.com of the percentages of what WNBA packages, CAA packages, all that knowledge was missing. It's not taught in schools. It's not taught in performance arts academies. They're teaching the art. They're not teaching the business.
I love this. And I want to take a quick pause before we keep going, just for people listening so you know what's going on. Talking about CAA, Creative Artists Agency, one of the biggest talent artist agency, created by Michael Ovitz. He created this idea of packaging, so to speak, where you get the producer, you get the production head, you get the writer, you get the actors, you get them all to agree to their own situation, and then you bring it to someone to distribute, and they're not going to say no because you have all the biggest names. So that's what we talk about with packaging.
Thank you. Yeah, if at any point, please, I'm going because we get on.
Oh, I'll correct you. Don't even worry about that.
Let him get away with anything.
So I looked at, where the state of my career was, and I just went, these are terrible rules, and how do I break this? And so creation was the best part. Yeah. But I knew that I had to create at a caliber that was going to get people's attention. And so I knew that I was not a filmmaker. I know how to hire all those positions, but I'm not the filmmaker. I'm not a DP. I'm not a whatever it is, but I'm a connector. I knew that I could partner up. I call it friend up, which basically means make sure that you're the dumbest person in the room. It's a concept of when you walk into a business meeting, make sure that you're the person that's making the least amount of money so that everybody in the room makes more than you do so that you can learn from them. So I found 3 filmmakers through just kind of what we're doing right now. Like, this person, this person. Oh my God, we should connect all of them. And they were all doers and movers and shakers. And they were Roy Robinson, McGregor, and Nathan Garofalo's. And I met Nathan through a mutual friend, Mike, and these are just all guys getting it done. I'm going to skip a little bit of what they did because it's contracted in terms of a major studio. So what I'll do is I'll dance around and kind of say what I'm able to say.
Great.
So I found out that McGregor was doing a massive pitch. He does what are called basically studio pitches. Like District 9, for example, from Neil Blomkamp was a short before it was a feature. So Neil Blomkamp did a 4 to 5 minute, and I'm sure somebody can look it up, and I don't even know if it exists anymore. But basically, this is what District 9 should be, but I can't show you the full feature because I don't have the money. So here's 5 minutes of District 9, but he's a visual effects guy, so it looked the exact same as it did on film. Sin City did this. There's so many things. Like the opening scene of Sin City was shot before the movie was shot. That was actually what was pitched to Bruce Willis, which then got him on board. So all this stuff you can find out in terms of how did these big movies get pitched. People were doing short versions of them and turning them into, if you give me $70 million, I'll give you something like this, but an hour and a half version. So I went to McGregor and Rory, and I was like, I know that you guys are doing a project. What do you need? And this goes into providing value. What can I do for you? No payment, nothing. What do you need? And they were like, we need to shoot at an abandoned hospital. Okay, cool. So solve that problem. The more, and this is kind of great advice for actors and artists, is the more problems you can solve for somebody else, the more value you have. So I was like, cool, I will get you that. What else do you need? They're like, we need money. Great, I will get that for you. What else do you need?
Is this all on the spot? This is before you have gotten it?
This is before.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I continued to solve all these problems with people and then realized I was a really good location scout. And then solved all these problems and realized I was really good at motivating people to do things because I knew how to pitch. That project turned into before certain things happened at studios, whatever it is, it was going to be a $60 million movie at Warner Brothers that Warner Brothers bought.
Wow.
So the pitch, cool. So I learned, I wasn't a cinematographer. I wasn't all these things, but all these people were. And if I could find enough people to do that, all that was missing was the money. That was it.
Yeah.
So I was like, great. So then I started paying attention to projects that were being crowdfunded, friends that were actually doing it. And I started to go, cool, I'll help you raise $4,000 of the 30 that you're after. No payment whatsoever. Let me help you. I'll go put me down for 4. Like I was just going to hit up my friends and just have them support this. Once again, pouring value into people. And then along the way, I learned, wait a second, I think I actually know how to crowdfund because all I have to do is put this on my own. I'm going to reveal something in this podcast that I've never told anybody. That I've
Hold
never
on.
told,
It's an exclusive.
Hold on. That
Yes.
I've never told anybody.
Yes.
Let me
Need battery.
Now, as you're fixing this here, I wanna just talk about the adding value for a moment because I've mentioned this to my friends and what have you as you're chit chatting about well, how do you get into a bigger room? How do you assist people with larger projects? How do you work with someone who's done more than you? How can I add value to them if I haven't done what they've done, or if I haven't, I don't have the credits, or I don't have and it's that idea of time. You're giving them your time. Yeah. And you'll figure it out. I mean, figuring out the hospital, it's at the end of the day, it's really your time. You'll find it if you just look for it. Yeah. But it's the time, offering your time, which is invaluable.
And we found an abandoned hospital to actually
shoot at. And then it got done.
And then it got done. And then they were like, oh, God, this is great. And we had, we're talking we had 35 people in full SWAT gear. And we literally looked like a Neil Blomkamp feature. Yeah. And then I was like, by the way, no worries if you haven't thought about this. How are we sort of feeding everybody? And they're like, and of course they're filmmakers. So they're like, oh my God, we haven't thought of that. I was like, I'll take care of the catering. Oh, wow. And I hired my friend.
Now you're the filmmaker's favorite person on set taking care of the food.
The food, yeah.
I hired the caterer and paid them.
Do you want to share how you did that?
Yeah.
So I, as an actor, whatever it is, you work in bars, you work in restaurants, you work whatever it is. And I had a friend, Kevin, who was just one of his side businesses was catering. And I was like, great, I would like to put money, once again, I'd like to put money in your pocket. Yeah. Will you come and cater this whole thing? Yeah. Yeah. He, of course, what he brought, he's doing more than you could possibly afford. His wife is like, what do you mean you brought the steak or whatever it is? And so the filmmakers were just like, wow, he really went
all the way.
all the way to the ends of the earth.
Yeah.
That started my relationship with Rory Robinson. Rory went on to direct The Last Days on Mars with Liev Schreiber for about $15 million. He is now in pre-production on, I want to pronounce this right, the Leviathan? Leviathan, thank you. Which is like $70 or $80 million. Well,
there we have it.
So all that started from, let me do this for you, and never asking for anything in return. And that's the hardest part. And further, what I try to mentor and teach artists, maybe the whole concept of this is stop playing the short game. I'll go into that a little bit more kind of in how I kind of mentor artists.
Yeah.
Is the short game is ending up in the real. The short game is getting paid $150 or $250 to show up on set and act. The long game is ending up in the $90 million feature film because you supported the guy for 5 years and just did everything you possibly could. So Justin will talk a little bit about his trajectory and what he's turned into. What he's now fallen into will probably benefit my career more than anything that I could ever possibly imagine. And we've never asked for anything of each other.
No, in fact, I tried to give you. I have a new social media growth service called Social Bunny, and I was like, dude, I'm gonna get you an account. And he's like, no, I'll be a customer. And I was like, and that's why you're amazing, dude.
So there's a lot of things where I really try to inspire and motivate artists to where I go, you're taught to play the short game. You're taught to want that instantaneous gratification. Yeah. And if you can surround yourself with enough people that do play the longer game, you'll start to pick up on, there's a bigger game here. There's a bigger, and you were talking about that right before we actually started this live video, which was providing value for other people and what that actually leads into in terms of a long-term relationship.
Yeah, I mean, and speaking in terms of the musical theater world, which is my background, doing a year of unpaid workshops for possible upcoming shows is way more value than going and guaranteeing a paycheck on some other project that is. I mean, now that's to say that you don't need the money. I mean, if you need the money to pay a loan or something, that's a different story. But the idea of the long game is just invest your time in these workshops because you're gonna so much more could come. It's an investment in the future. You're investing in the future, which is the long game.
Because if any one of those workshop directors behind those projects take off, they remember the people who busted their ass to help them. And I don't think any of us are saying like, hey, artists, you should work for free and not value your time or anything like this. No. What we're actually saying is that you think the money is the most valuable thing. No. It's your investment of time and your energy that's the most valuable thing. That's more valuable than the money you think that time is worth.
Yeah. Yes. And you can get a job that works around that. A job that may not fulfill you creatively, but fills your pockets for your rent and your loans and your et cetera, et cetera. So I'm interested how you balance that too at the same time.
Yeah.
And
So let's caveat that whole thing into, okay, great. I think I can crowdfund. I think I can do this. And the thing that I was going to reveal live on this live video and on this podcast is this. So I launched a crowdfunding campaign. I did a lot of prep, which Justin will go into in terms of before it was, now it's a system. Now you just follow it like you're going through a course. Yeah. At the beginning, it was fly by the seat of your pants, figure out the problems because there wasn't a system.
Right.
Now there sort of is. So on my first crowdfunding campaign, we did 2 campaigns. The first one was $25,000 and then I realized that I needed about 20 more. Yeah. And so in total, it was about $45,000 between 2 campaigns. Yeah. The first 20 that I had raised, I hadn't written the script yet.
That's right.
I remember. So we are making a film. We are exciting people and getting people ready to go. And they're seeing the entire team from the director to the DP and everyone's established. And they're like, oh my God, how did you get all of this talent?
Right.
And there was no script. And what people realized is that the vision and the value and the ideas are commodities. Ideas are interchangeable. Money is made up. It's imaginary ones and zeros that, goes between people's accounts and we never physically see it. We have an emotional thing to it because that's what we're taught. But before it used to be, I'm going to give you a camel and you're going to give me 2 buffalo. It was just exchange. Yeah. So that means that the idea is actually what is valuable. The idea of Star Wars is what is sort of valuable and then becomes what it becomes.
Yeah.
It becoming a film and a franchise and an iconic thing, That's the tail end of the work. That's not where the value is. The value is in standing on set in 1977 or whatever it is with George and him thinking people thought he was crazy or whatever it is.
Right.
And I'm not saying that it wasn't, there's a whole thing which we could go into because that's opening up our nerdy belt. But after I crowdfunded, I realized I could do it again, and I realized I could do it again, and I realized I could do it again because I was building value in a community of over-delivering on things. I mean, the first project that I had the visual effects done by Jeremy Hunt, who worked on 300. So my little short film had the same visual effects team as 300.
Right.
Yeah.
And when you're seeing that on a campaign or whatever it is like, it's kind of a cool factor. Like that was my first one. Made every mistake. For me personally, and that's my baby. The film was unwatchable, and that's cool because that was my training ground. I was learning to greenlight myself and whatever it is. So then, and now I'm going to pass this over to you in sort of a second. So I became a crowdfunding guy. I was on CNN. I was at Comic-Con. I was at Kamikaze. I was selling out these workshops at these places. Like hundreds of filmmakers were coming to hear me talk about crowdfunding. And then at one of them, at CBS Radford,
we became
Justin
buddies.
Giddings showed up. He had successfully crowdfunded about 60,000 or 30, or he'll go into those numbers or whatever it is.
100, but whatever.
Right,
Oh, no, at that time, 30.
Yeah,
But
at
who's
that
counting?
time 30,
Yeah.
and thought, there's no way that I can do this again. Is it possible to hit up the same community? Like, I don't want to go through that again because it was just painstaking and I made all these mistakes. And what we realized is that when we combined mojos, whatever it is, it catapulted into, and then he took it and ran with it and basically created and became the Kickstarter guy.
Yeah.
And 5 million later,
I still remember us sitting at Aroma Tea and Coffee in Tahunga and being like, hi, new best friend forever.
Best friend
Our
forever.
brains are right on the same wavelength. Yeah, so I guess that's my cue.
Go for it. Yes.
Right.
So, and I just occurred to me that I didn't say your name before you started speaking, so people listening this whole time might be, that was Nathan Reid. Nathan Reid. Now we're going to Justin Giddings. No, it can get confusing when you don't have the visual.
Yeah.
I mean, they know, but. Okay.
Right. All right. So, yeah, my name is Justin Giddings, and I'm commonly referred to as the Kickstarter guy. So my story is that I got into acting as a kid. So my stepdad, New Yorker, went to American Academy of Dramatic Arts. And then when he hooked up with my mom, he was like, hey, you could do acting. And I was like, cool. So I did voiceovers as a little kid. And
Cool.
my irresponsible parents, they allowed me to keep all of my money. And so I just bought Star Wars toys. And I thought to myself, I was like, you know what? This is an investment. So I'm the kid. I still have them. I've got boxes of unopened Star Wars toys.
Unopened.
Unopened.
Oh
Unopened. And I thought that the Star Wars collectible card game was going to be the jam. It was not. I've got about a couple grand invested there, and now it's done and nobody cares. I should have done Magic the Gathering. Why, God?
Oh, yeah.
So in any case, so I got started at a young age doing that and went to University of Cincinnati's College Conservatory of Music for acting, went out to LA and have worked pretty steadily. I describe my career as an actor as I work enough to get insurance from the union, but nobody knows who I am. That's kind of I'll be guest star on Shameless, guest star on this thing, whatever. So a couple years ago, actually, though, I had a series regular role on a zombie comedy called Bite Me.
Okay.
And it was one of the first internet web series that got turned into a TV show. And then the cable channel it was on called FearNet went under. So there were no more stuff. And so here I am again thinking like Actorland, like series regular. Oh my God, I made it. I'm on TV. Look, ma.
Right.
And then just the bottom drops out. And I turned to my co-star at the time and I was like, dude, I am tired of waiting for permission to be creative. Tired of waiting for permission.
Can we just have a moment for that? Like, tired of waiting for permission.
Yeah.
Just
got done. And so I was like, I've got this idea for a short about Deaf Girl and all this. Do you want to write this thing with me? And he was like, yeah, okay, great, let's do it. And then we also had a pilot called Fat Ninja. That was actually the first thing that we worked on. But in any case, so we sat down together, we started writing, and then I was like, well, how are we going to pay for this?
Right.
And at the time, this is like 2013, 2014. And I was like, there's this thing called crowdfunding where you just like beg people for money and then they give it to you. I guess we could do that. And I had like a little bit of a background in marketing because I was the worst waiter in the world. Like so bad. Outback Steakhouse only makes you have 3 tables so you can give like really good service. I would just forget a table like in the middle of service. Like I'm too right-brained. I could not remember their drinks, their orders, whether or not the orders came with salads or it was wretched. So I had to do something else.
Right.
And so I got into some marketing stuff. So that's what I'd been doing in LA as the day job, was like helping acting schools get more actor students, that kind of stuff.
Right.
So I took some of those skills, got into crowdfunding, and we were able to successfully raise about $34,000. But as Nathan was saying, like, while I had some base skills that allowed us to do a really successful campaign, it was stressful, it was hard, it was not fun, it was kind of all the bad things you hear about it. And so I remember actually, we ended on a Friday, and the next day I was in Malibu in my mom's RV, literally crying at the table. I'm sitting there at the table and I'm just kind of got this blank stare in my eyes. She's like, "Are you okay?" And I just look up and like tears start streaming down my face. It was so stressful, and the release of it was like just so emotional.
Yeah.
And part of the reason I was so stressed was because I knew that actually that we wanted to do a big sci-fi that was going to be twice as much money. Yeah. And I was already like, how is this going to happen? And so I ended up going to CBS Radford to this crowdfunding workshop and meeting Nathan and kind of being introduced to some of these ideas that would start kind of forming later into crowdfunding and all that kind of stuff. And we ended up successfully raising $64,000 there.
Wow.
So now I'm at $98,000, $100,000 raised via crowdfunding. And that was the big epiphany for me, because when that happened, a couple things happened. First off, I booked more acting gigs. Something about walking into the room and having some power and being like,
taking permission.
Yeah, right. Taking that, like, oh, I don't need your permission anymore.
Yeah.
I started booking like a maniac.
Isn't that funny?
It was crazy. It was nuts. So that happened,
right.
Which was awesome. And then, of course, all of a sudden now I have this filmmaker career. Yeah. And what's great about being an actor first is that understanding character and emotion, just kind of all the stuff that you would work on as an actor, getting behind the camera, if you have the desire and knack for it. Like, I knew how to write characters through those emotional journeys. And so our first film won a ton of awards. Wow. Everything we've done since has been award winning and really great. And there's been this street cred that's been given to me because of the crowdfunding. And so I can walk into an office, and again, just my own personal emotional state of being confident and kind of ready to rock and roll. But the fact that I've raised what I've raised opens doors now.
Oh, yeah.
So the crazy thing now is that so many of the gigs that I get in terms of like script writing jobs or directing gigs almost always start with some sort of crowdfunding conversation. So I'll be at a place or a party or an event or something like that. It'll come up that I'm this guy that's done these things. And someone will, producer will be like, "Oh, I was thinking about this for this little side project that I've got." Great. We start talking about it. They find out I work as a filmmaker. I'm like, "Oh, do you have anything?" "Oh, yes, I do." And then it's like, "Oh, well, because I actually have a production company that has $10 million. It's just that I wanted to do the little side thing to see if crowdfunding would help me. Doesn't sound like it will, but now I've met you. So would you like to write my next script?" And so like right now we've got two scripts. My partner and I, we co-write and co-direct. We've got 2 scripts, one that's about to be finished and one that's just starting in terms of gigs. And both of them have clauses that were kind of the first right of refusal for directing. Yeah. And so, and these are $5 to $10 million projects. Wow. That would have never happened if I just went to film school, which is awesome for some people. But if I just gone there and thought, well, now I've got an awesome MFA and people will come find me. Anybody who's watched the South by Southwest keynote speech from Mark Duplass has probably heard the term, which if you haven't, you should. And I don't like using the word should, but that's one of those cases.
I love his projects, though.
Yeah, right. It's this 45-minute speech that will blow your freaking mind, because the sort of the headline on all the IndieWire articles is like, the cavalry's not coming.
Ooh.
Yeah, right? Sit there
Oh,
for a second.
that's my favorite.
The cavalry is not coming. No one's coming to hand you a career, particularly now in this day and age.
Yeah.
And so understanding that's what crowdfunding has allowed me to do, is to be my own cavalry.
Yeah.
And now I've helped 120 other filmmakers raise $5 million with a 97% success rate. That little sentence has brought so much value, as Nathan was talking about, into other people's lives that now, I have 10, 20 consultations a week with the creators of Sharknado. I mean, I like all levels of careers.
Yeah.
And that's opened so many doors for myself as an artist. And like my day job now is the first 3 hours of my day. We're in post-production on a film now. So I'm wrapping up post and finishing up this script. And we're starting to work on the new one, right? So like that's the first 3 hours of my day. And then the latter 4 hours of my day is helping other filmmakers make their dreams come true. It's amazing, right? That's my day job.
Yeah.
And so the big takeaway I would say is like, you can wait or you can greenlight yourself. And that's the whole mission of, I spent $1,500 on the domain, greenlightyourself.com. Because I was like, I could get greenlightyourself.net, but no. I want this message to be super clear. You can say yes to yourself.
Yeah.
And that's the mission now, while I do it in real time in my own artistic career. And kind of lead the way. And I always tell people, like, look, I'm not famous. You don't know who I am. I don't have that A-list status, but like, I work in the industry all the time. Isn't that what we always say when we start? I just want to work. I just want to make art, right?
Can I tell you a phone call that I had yesterday that caveats into the value that he now provides? So a conversation that we had yesterday was, so I have the ability, and please, if I'm telling too much information, I will.
No, you're
Basically, he's like, I need a couple of scripts that we can shoot for about $1 million that take place in about one location. So he's basically telling me, I've got the money. Now I need the material.
Yeah.
So I called my friend, Braggy Schutt, who wrote Escape Room that just came out in the movie theater. And this was the voicemail that I left Braggy. Hey, Braggy, what's up, dude? Congratulations again on all your success. You're awesome. You're cool. You're blah, 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 right? By the way, do you have any scripts that you actually want made for about $1 million that have these sort of parameters inside of them? If you do, you talk about the value. I'm calling a writer saying, and
we
if he
have
does,
everything else. Just
right,
give me the.
just give me
what you
the
already-
content.
I need a good piece of content.
I met Braggy because I location scouted a movie of his because he was a budding filmmaker or whatever it is, and he goes, I have a scene at a school that how am I going to get an entire school? I got him an entire school filled with students for nothing. So he did like a $1,000 donation to the school or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But again, didn't ask for payment, didn't get payment, didn't care.
Yeah.
Now he's
Yep.
that. So we're coming full circle in now going, he is now a big avenue
How many
of
years
mine.
ago was that?
It was 2014.
2014. So 5 years ago,
Yeah.
you do this thing, and then 5 years later, that thing comes back in a way of like, hey, yo, but guess what? I got you, man.
Yeah. And if he's got something great, and if he doesn't, would you like to write something? Because again, and just that power of that momentum.
That's the long game.
That's the long game.
That's the long game.
Thank you for bringing that around. Right? The short game is, well, Nathan, did you end up in his short that he did? And I don't even understand the question. I'm like, I think I did, but I don't even remember if I did, because I was like, let me solve this problem for you. And what was really blowing Braggy away was he was like, why are you willing to solve this problem for me? Because I couldn't explain to people that I was playing the long game. I couldn't explain to people that I was like, I'm good at this.
Yeah, so this is a really key part, right? So let's say I'm Mrs. Executive at my desk, development-wise, right? And trying to figure out who I want to work with and what projects I want to say yes to.
Right.
Do I choose the unsolicited script from somebody who's just waiting for somebody to give them the career? Or do I read the script of the guy who helped me unlock the school? that I needed in my last movie?
Yes.
That's such an easy yes.
Yeah.
And it's and Nathan didn't have to have any special skills.
Yeah.
I mean, not that you didn't bring, obviously expertise to the table, but it wasn't like you did some magical thing and blew their minds with the next, great American novel version of a script, right?
Yeah.
You just solved a problem for them, brought value into the world, and now all of a sudden it's like, well, great, I got to read 10 scripts this weekend. I'll read one of Nathan's.
Yeah.
So it kills me because I understand it. Frankly, the industry tries so hard to close up the gates and have a slew of gatekeepers right in front of you,
right?
Because they're trying to filter through the mountains of crap that come their way, and that's understandable.
Yeah.
But the crazy thing is, it's not hard to circumvent the mountain of crap. Don't try to climb over it.
No.
Go around it.
Yeah.
Write that down. Don't climb over the mountain of crap. Go around it.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, yeah, no, it's okay. It might be a little circuitous. Everybody on the mountain who's almost at the top particularly is like, what are you doing, dude? I'll even help pull you up the mountain of crap. No, I'm good. I'm going to walk around it.
Yeah.
And then on the other side of it, it's like, it's weird how easy it is to get work. I mean, I know that I remember myself as a young actor hearing that and maybe getting pissed or triggered. But now on the other side of that crap mountain, it's actually easy to get work and to book because you create so many irons in the fire that at any moment, they talk about luck being preparation meeting opportunity.
Yeah.
And I think most people think luck is just opportunity. And so Nathan and I, right? The people we surround ourselves understand, no, I'm just going to have so many irons in the fire that when they call and they need one of those irons, it's red hot and ready. And then you work all the time because as a director who has read dozens of scripts trying to find a good one to produce, it's actually really hard. There's the mountain of crap. Trying to climb that is really, really, really hard.
Oh, yeah.
And so if you've got a modicum of talent, go around the mountain. I guess that's the takeaway.
Yeah.
Because now I'm calling Nathan and going, dude, what you got? Because now in my life, I have one of those people who can write a check for $2 million and they don't need to ask permission as long as it's $2 million or under, right?
Yeah.
Right. This is the dream, right?
Yeah.
And so now I'm like, okay, oh gosh, I gotta find a script that I can do that's. And so I call Nathan, and Nathan starts making his phone calls, and now I can take this person's name and go, yeah, he did this thing that got released in theaters and made this amount of money, and those connections can start happening. And it may not be my script. That's the crazy thing. I'm in development on something with this person, but when the producer reached out to me initially and said, what have you got? I was like, I don't have anything. But because I'm the Kickstarter guy and I talk to 10, 20 new filmmakers a week, I can find you something.
Yeah.
And so now I'm bringing how awesome. And I remember the producer going dude, it's the same questions. Why would you do that? Why don't you just go write something? What's in it for you? And I'm like, you don't understand.
More than you think.
You're right, exactly.
I'm solving a problem.
If I can solve
10
your
years in the
problem
making.
and make an incredible movie, because her last film that she funded went to the Venice Film Festival, and has been just crazy awesome. If I can bring something to her that she loves, because she's like this horror nut, I'm now her new best friend. So when I finally go, yo, I got something for you. I think I've got the thing for you. I'm going to get the most attention from the biggest decision maker that I currently know.
Yeah.
Duh. Why would I sabotage myself by going, okay, well, here's I can cuss, shitty script.
Adult
Here's
programming.
a shitty script that I wrote over the weekend, because I just desperately wanted to have this opportunity. Oh my God, please. Yeah. Right? No. Let me get you something that's been in development for 5 years or something. Yeah. Let's all be happy and make this amazing movie. And then I'll go write my movie. And then I'll bring it to you.
Was that taught to you? To almost kind of put greed on the back burner and trust in the process
That is a phenomenal question.
That's an incredible question.
No, because by nature, we're, I want it. I got something I want.
Short
I want
game.
It. It's short game. I mean, but
short
that, that's a human survival need. And to put that on pause, mute that, put it down because you realize I just don't know if there's a moment.
Yeah, no, that's a really incredible question. There's kind of two answers. One is the quick answer is that, bluntly, there's an element of this that's very selfish and in my best interests to not be greedy,
Yeah.
So it's kind of this weird thing there.
Yeah.
The other piece of it too was that my parents are very, very entrepreneurial. So growing up, I saw them. They always had a plan A. They never had a plan B, but plan A could change.
There was A.1, point 2,
Right,
point 3,
right, exactly. And they've been, crazy successful, but it took them a super long time to get there. And so I think I grew up knowing that, like, okay, plan A is be an actor, right? Okay, well, actually, I don't really love the power position that puts me in. I mean, guys, I've been on the first class plane flight to do the guest star with William H. Macy, and I've done that. And it's cool, but, like, I'm still saying somebody else's line and somebody else's story. Which for some people is awesome. For me, it ended up not being the thing that made me actually feel great. So now the new plan A is be a filmmaker. Yeah. And then it was like, well, I got to learn some new skills. And so now the new plan A is be a filmmaker who also helps other filmmakers. And it's just, I find myself jumping from piece to piece. And I think in that experience, learning that I'm going to get to my plan A, the more I help other people get to their plan A's. Now I'm the plan A facilitator. So then when I finally make the call that's like, hey, I got the thing. I want, I'm calling in the favor or something like that. People are like, yeah, dude, you helped me get to my to my plan A.
Yeah.
So no particular individual lesson, but I just think a lot of modeling that, like, you keep going, and as you keep going, you're going to learn what you need to fine tune that piece. And I think what we've learned is me going, hey, I'm a talented actor, got us nowhere. Got us nowhere.
I have a great photo of myself.
Right. I've got a great photo. I've got a piece of paper that has things you've never heard of all over it. And special skills. I've got a driver's license in New York.
Valid passport.
No,
yeah, I know.
And it's not that I'm mocking that. It's just I'm saying that is not valuable to anybody because there's a billion of that.
Yeah.
So how do I make myself valuable? Great. I did crowdfunding stuff. Nathan's done producing and locations. He's just like, we've solved other people's problems.
I have to tell one story because that was the solving of the problem. Okay. Yeah. So I auditioned for this really big movie, and I got a call from the director and the producer, and they were like, we'd like to take a meeting with you at like 59th Street at Columbus Circle. I'm there. Let's go.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting down in the meeting and I'm talking with them, and I listen and I watch. I do this very, very well. And I'm listening to both of them as they're talking to me about how great I would be in this lead role. And my actor brain goes, you're missing something. You're missing something. And so I was like, can I ask you guys something? And they were like, sure. I was like, look, I know that you guys like my performance. I get that. What problem do you need me to solve for you so that I can have this lead role? And they're like, oh, we're actually glad that you asked. We have actually a trouble in our map to get us distribution. And I was like, cool, why don't we do this? We'll have 2 separate contracts for me. We'll have my actor contract, which will pay whatever you want me to pay. And then I'll handle you guys. I'll help you guys once you guys into post-production get an actual distributor. They went with the same distributor of a movie that I actually produced. And I got to be the lead role in a movie with Malcolm McDowell and Oscar-nominated Bruce Davison.
Yep.
But I'm the actor that goes, it should have been Jake Gyllenhaal.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's what I'm trying to tell actors is going, whether I was good or not, or whatever that was, it didn't matter because they had a problem and they knew that I could solve it because I had solved it for myself in the past. So they were like, oh God, this kid knows how to produce and actually knows how to get distribution. He may know more than us. Now, they may not go with the distributor that I recommend, and that was actually a very long conversation that we had. I was like, don't take the deal that I sort of present to you.
Right.
So in Justin's further thing of going, the opportunities that came to me because I was able to solve those other problems for people, you've got to learn. You've got to learn how that game of Monopoly works.
Yep.
Yeah, so there's some quick things, and I want actors to kind of look this up, or if you want to get in touch with me or get in touch with Justin, just read the percentage of each major agency in what projects they package.
Where do you find that information?
I saw it in my reps sent it to me.
Yeah, actually, right now the WGA West, and maybe East actually is in a major contract dispute.
Yeah, they're on strike right now.
Are they on strike? I've kind of been off the radar for a second.
I just read it.
Oh my God. Okay, so they're striking right now because they are fighting against packaging. And so there's a lot of information right now on Deadline, probably on the WGA website, where you could see how packaging has been sort of detrimental to the process, because basically what that means is if the agent that you've got is walking into the room with everybody else's name, what is the point? It creates a really unfair, non-competitive environment. And of course, and they get packaging fees on top of percentages.
On
You're
top of
paying
back
them
end.
10%, and they're getting all these. So now you have a conflict of interest, right? Because if I'm packaging a project, it is in my interest to say, yo, producer, I'll give you this A-lister for 20% less than he used to do if you give me 10%, some of that margin, basically, right?
Yeah.
And then they're like, no, we don't do that. And I'm like, yeah, you do that.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to change gears for a second.
Sweet.
And this is a big... this is a big topic, I think, especially for performers, actors in particular, getting past no. And no from... no, obviously you audition for something, you don't hear no, you just don't get the gig. But when you're creating something, you're asking someone for help and they say no. How many times do you follow up with that person? Do you follow up with people? Because no is the easy answer. And I'll get no like 3 or 4 times and then they'll be like, yeah, okay, sure. I listened to the podcast. I'll be on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm curious, do you guys have a balance with that? Do you pay any attention to that? Is there any thought you put into that?
Do you want me to take that
Yeah,
one?
go ahead and start.
All right.
I've
So
got some
this
ideas for
actually is in the actual crowdfunding data, because crowdfunding works a lot like business, which is out of 100 people that you talk to, only 5 people are going to say yes. 95 people are going to say no. If you know that ahead of time, you don't get mad at the 95. Right. You're not expecting the 95. Your rich uncle's cousin's brother, whatever it is, who you could have sworn was going to give you $1,000 or help you out or make that phone call for you. Yep. You're now no longer upset about that because he's a part of the 95. You don't judge the relationship anymore. You basically treat it as, oh, he was one of the 95. Yeah. Here's what's kind of crazy. When you get the 5 yeses, those 5 yeses turn into 10, 15. Yep. You get the idea. Yeah. Once you've got 300 yeses, the 95 that said no start to go, wait, there's a party over there. I want to be a part of the party.
In that party.
So the party that you've created, which you've kind of answered your own question, is your following and your product is so valuable that now people are going, wait, there's a party over there? There's 11,000 other people that are partying over there? I want to go to that. So it's literally just attention units.
Right.
That's all it's doing. You're getting enough people to pay attention to where other people that weren't paying attention go, why am I not paying attention to that? They didn't care in the beginning. So you just move forward knowing, I know that I'm going to get 95 no's. Yeah. I'm looking for the 5 yeses.
Yeah. Bank and you bank up those yeses.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny when you ask that question, my first thought was like, I don't know what no means. And not in this like, I'm a cool business person that doesn't accept no for an answer and I'm going to be like this really smarmy guy that hounds you until you're, it's not that. It's just that no, I think to me is just like right now the thing you're talking about doesn't really bring any value into my life. So then I go, okay, well, is there a way for me to bring value into your life right now? Maybe there is, maybe there isn't. If there is, I might follow up with that.
Right.
Or more often than not, I just bank up my yeses, right? So I'll say yes to myself over in another area. I'll build up my social media audience so that when I am up for the gig, I've got 20,000 followers. I'll go to New York and, my tickets for my events, for example, they don't cover my costs at all. Yeah. Coming here to teach people about this has cost me a couple $1,000s. I'm not, you know what I mean? And so but I've got 30 more people who are on my mailing list who think I'm awesome. Because how do I start my seminars? There's no close at the end. I'm not going to ask you to buy a damn thing at the end of this thing. We're going to spend the next 90 minutes solving all your problems and creating these paths for you and saying yes. So now today, when I send out my email going, hey, here's my course, here's my new social media growth tool, here's all this kind of stuff, I'm going to probably get 10, 20, 50% of those people who end up supporting me financially so I can do this again in other places, right? Mm-hmm. Because the right out of the gate, it's like, look, I don't need anything from you. And as an actor, when you go into the room and you don't need them to like you, that's when you book.
And it's impossible to fake.
And you can't fake it.
You can't.
We've tried. I don't need this job. I don't need this job. Right. I have no money, but I need this job. You know what I mean? It's impossible to fake. This was actually kind of cool because the last pilot season, was insane. I haven't talked to you about it. It has been something that I've never experienced. 17 lead auditions for brand new pilots. Yeah. All leads. No co-stars. Lead part, right? Actor goes. Any actor that we know goes, what were the results? I go, short game. That's a short game. You're not looking at the big picture. How in the hell am I on the map for 17 lead auditions?
What did you do? Got them to know.
Right. So what's so incredible, I remember a huge audition for The Flash. It's literally so huge. I had just like sign an NDA that my screen test that was sent to them, I can't post. I can't nothing. I mean, it was like that.
Here are the sides. They're not the real sides. And if you show anybody, we'll shoot you in the knee.
Kind of that kind of thing. And I had the guy who did the visual effects for Interstellar, he edited my self-tape that went in. It was crazy, the things that I pulled because of the contacts that we now sort of have.
Yeah.
And that guy goes, Nathan, I know not why you didn't book it. I'm telling you something that you already know. You were probably auditioning for something that was already taken. And I said, oh, I know. And he goes, that's why I like you. He goes, so tell me how you knew that. Cause he's on the director side of directing 5 and 10 and $20 million projects. Yeah. So he already knew that role was probably gone.
Yeah. Yep.
So he goes, but you poured everything into that. And I went, cool. If the role is gone, why are they asking me to come in? Because they want to see what I got.
Yep.
Yeah.
And even though this role is gone, it's like, ooh, that means that I'm on the Flash's radar.
Yeah.
That means that they're going, well, we can't offer him this part because we had to offer it to so-and-so because of all the hierarchy of how that works and blah, blah, blah. And actors sometimes get so discouraged, but it's because they're discouraged because they don't know how that game works.
Yeah.
So they're focused on the result of booking it.
I did or didn't get the audition. I did or didn't book the job. It's irrelevant. Yeah. It's irrelevant. It's literally irrelevant.
Did you do a good job? Move on.
Right.
That's it.
Right.
Move on.
Yeah.
No, because the way film works as opposed to, and I'm going to keep bringing it back to theater, but the way film, you can add, they could add a role.
Yeah.
They could, the franchise is working. We want to go in another direction, the sidekick thing and the guy in the thing, and you're the friend in the street, and you end up being, and then you got a whole other thing.
How that went big, Cillian Murphy auditioned for Bruce Wayne. Is it Cillian or Killian?
I think it's Cillian.
Yeah, okay,
I don't know.
Cillian Murphy,
Mr. Murphy
auditioned for Bruce Wayne. Yeah. Was so freaking good, but they were like, I don't think he's the right Bruce Wayne. So you know what they did? They gave him Scarecrow.
Right.
Yeah. But you can do that. That's
Yeah. Even notice this podcast, right? So I run a company that helps people, and if you give me money, I can help you too. I've mentioned it twice. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The whole when we were even talking about this, what we're even trying to do now is let's come into your world, come into your life, come into your podcast, and be and help your listeners start changing their ideas about this stuff, because there might be somebody listening to this that's like, I need the funny fat guy, right? Which is me. I need the super ripped model dude, which is him. I've been looking for a script too, and these guys sound like, it is in your interest, listeners, to provide value to other people in your world and find concrete ways. And that might look completely different for everybody. Yeah. I've known personal trainers who just, hey, I will train you for free.
Yeah.
And it's not I'm going to train you for free so that one day you give me something, but I'm going to train you for free because I know that if you can become the best person you are, and I'm surrounded by people who I've helped become the best person they are and hit their plan A's, I'm just going to go with them. Yeah. It will end up metaphysically that I'm alongside with them when they're hitting their mountaintops.
And I knocked this into my life schedule a year and a half ago. If I help enough other people get what they want, I'll get what I want.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Not out of a greed manipulation thing. It's just simply, it's an energy. It's a thing you cannot write down on paper. It just flows. Mm-hmm. If you help enough other people get what they want, you'll get what you want. Yeah. So I think it's really interesting to get you guys here. Who knows who's going to hear this? Who knows who's going to, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Who
knows how this will unfold?
You don't know. So reputation, because we were talking about with The Flash. I want to go back to this. Reputation. What are your views on reputation in the industry? That's a very broad question, so take it however you want.
Yeah. I would say for me, it's been hugely important that I have built up a reputation for authenticity. So every interaction I have with anybody at any level, I might be on the nose about it or not, but I start from a place of authenticity. If I don't think I'm good for your thing, I'll tell you immediately. I was up for the tour of Book of Mormon, and I'm like, yo, I can't sing those high notes. I can't do it. I mean, I can hit them, but I can't do them the way you need this character to be able to do them. And my agents were like, hey, they could like maybe transpose the score or something a little bit if they really, really like you. And I kept saying, no, I'm not going to go in and waste their time by delivering something that is never going to serve them and help them. And that email got forwarded to them, and they were like, hey, we want to tell your actor that's awesome because we have so many people who come in who look like this part and can't sing the notes, and it's so damn frustrating. We just want to let you know that we actually appreciate that. So don't be mad at your actor. That was kind of because like the agent was a little frustrated and kind of sent this note and said, hey, he doesn't want to come in. Well, why? They get the answer. So now that casting director, I'm on her radar because I started. So I think by building up a reputation of authenticity and integrity that's actually real and not me trying to be the guy, has been integral to my career, and it pays off in dividends. And so, and so easy to lose. Right? The moment that you sacrifice the things that make you who you are,
wasting someone's time,
I'm now off the list. Why the hell did this actor come in and squawk those high notes? I mean, he could hit him, but the one time he did it, kind of, why would I do that to everybody? Why would I do that? Yeah. The reason people do it is because they're desperate for the opportunity, because they think this is the only one that's ever going to happen. And it's a scarcity mindset.
Scarcity. Thank you.
Right? You know what I mean? Yep. So the flip side of it is if I walk into the room and I know who I am and what I am, two things are going to happen. I'm not going to waste your time, and you're going to know exactly what you're going to get out of me. Yeah. And already I'm now better than 90% of the people who walked into that room, where you don't know what you're getting and you are wasting their time.
Yeah.
And so now, great, I'm in the top 10 list, top 10% of everybody who's walked into this room before. And so I've got people at Rat Pack Productions, this big, giant funding arm, $1 billion arm. And it's every time I have a script that's right, I pass it along to development. And this is going back to that earlier point. It's so easy. It's not even hard if you build up that reputation.
Yeah.
It will open the doors for you. It will precede you. Your reputation will precede you and open those doors for you.
I really appreciate you answering these sort of questions, because I think it's really important to give the listener an idea of the level of, it takes self-confidence to be able to be no, I'll stick with what I'm doing. I'm not going to pretend like this is going to be my big break, even though I know for a fact that's not me, or I can't do that. So being able to say that gains you more respect. And it's just a way to, it's hard to label that and, quantify it and put it in a box and to get this message to the people listening.
Yep.
But it's that self-confidence acting from, the plentiful cup runneth over instead of scarcity.
Yep.
Where you're oh God, give me instead of,
Yeah.
I'll give.
I have a couple, and this, it's a story, and then I want to answer kind of my own version of of reputation. So for the listeners out there, sometimes when you hear something, especially from somebody that you deem important, like an agent or a manager or whatever it is, remember, guys, it's subjective, and it's also their experience, which is sometimes not yours. So I'm going to give an example to this. My wife has booked more. She's Gabrielle Reid. She's done Broadway for 20 some odd years. Was interested into getting into commercials. I was like, okay, they should just give you the job. It's just literally, that's my attitude. It's not because she's my wife. She's that good. She just is. Yeah. So she was repped at a major agency in Los Angeles. And she was they had a commercial division, which was amazing. And she goes, I'm going to go and take an interview with them. And I was like, sweet. So she goes, takes an interview with them. They told her, you are not ready for commercials. You need to take this commercial class. That was my face.
Yeah.
The face that Clayton just made was the face that all of you probably just made. Smelled something you shouldn't have smelled. Yeah. That kind of thing. So she comes home and tells me that. And I had the same kind of reaction. I went, well, that's incorrect. I was like, okay, good.
Yeah.
Let me solve that for you. And I called a commercial rep that I had an amazing relationship with. She was signed 24 hours later. 24 hours later, she had 4 auditions. One of them was for a FedEx National commercial that played on the Super Bowl. So she had 4 auditions in one day that went avail, booked, and then it made her not avail for the other 3.
The other 3, right.
And that one was a Super Bowl commercial that made us more than you could possibly imagine.
Right.
Yeah.
So she listened.
lottery.
She listened to the first agent and went, that doesn't sound correct. And then went to somebody like me because of the reputation and went, this is what I was said. This is what was told to me. And I just went, it's incorrect. Let me tell you let me show you what the real data is. And then I got her signed, and then she went on to do all of that success. So sometimes you need enough people around you that are doing much better than you are, that are also positive people. You know, there are a lot of people that are doing very well that are negative naysayers and whatever it is because they actually feel
because they climbed the mountain of crap,
right?
And it sucked, and
they also kind of want to keep you down because they have a scarcity mentality, and they don't want somebody else climbing up because they fear their role is going to be done. Right. Yeah. So in my reputation, right, what is really important to me is integrity and ethics.
Yep.
Do what you say you're going to do. If you have a 10 o'clock appointment, be there at 9:50. If you have a 2 p.m. conference call, and what's so funny is this analogy makes complete sense as soon as you make the person a studio head or the head casting at Telsey. If you had a phone conference with the head casting director at Telsey at 2 p.m., do you think you'd miss the call and then send them an email at 9 p.m. that night? So sorry I missed it. My dog had to go to the vet.
No.
Or whatever the
Because
situation
the
is.
value of it
the
is
value of it is through the roof.
exponential
You make it J.J. Abrams, you make it whoever it is, and they never miss it. So people now are accustomed to, I don't have to have ethics and integrity. I can just say that I'm going to do something and then not actually do it. Yeah. And here's what's really cool, and I'm going to make me not perfect here. I have a very good friend. His name is Mark Edward Lewis. He's worked on Star Trek. He's an amazing filmmaker. And he was coming to New York to do an audio session, something. He was redoing audio for Marvel. It was insane what he was doing. And I forgot. I didn't put it in my calendar and just forgot to go. And man, we had the best conversation because he called me and he went, really, Nathan?
Yeah.
You just didn't show up. And I not only took full responsibility for it, I said, I messed up. That was on me. That will never happen again. There is no excuse for that, and I'm not going to make one. I should have been more professional, and I should have been there when I said that I was going to be there. And let me now show you that I'm going to show up for you in the future. Yeah. Not in some debt way, not in some propitiation type of way, but because that's my integrity. And he was like, cool. And it became water under the bridge, and we never brought it up again. But I liked the fact that my friend called me out. You need friends that, not in a bad way, they are asking you to raise your game. They are asking you to be a better person. And if you don't rise to that occasion, listener, that's on you. And you will be in the same place you are a year from now. And you'll just be sitting around with a bunch of other people complaining about the game of Monopoly while we're over here building a new board.
You put up a great post this morning on Facebook about this reputation and showing up or not showing up.
Oh, I did.
And I thought it was really interesting because it's the value we place on something. I mean, you know, the value that I have on this conversation is the same value that I have in conversation with anyone else that I have on the show, regardless of their reputation, regardless of what they've done, because this is what this is in my mind. But as a human, we tend to, you know, compartmentalize and put less value depending on someone's, you know,
status,
resume.
Yeah. Or perceived status.
Yep.
See, that's what's really fascinating is Justin is technically more valuable than some of my studio head contacts. Like, you guys get that? It's like Justin has the ability, because of the affinity that we have for people, to cut the red tape. Some of those studio people are stuck in the tape and of no fault of their own.
No, that's the position.
They're
just the position.
They're just surrounded by a bunch of other people with tape.
Yeah. I had a previous interview, actually just came out this past Monday, with Kerry Kirkpatrick. He helped write like Rescuers Down Under. He did Something Rotten. Him and his brother did it. So he took the position. I'll keep it short because people who are listening to that episode will have already heard this. But he managed his brother. And in Nashville, one of the projects was to go talk to someone who's in the music industry because they were studying song stuff. And so he met with Amy Grant's manager's assistant and put a ton of value on the assistant, and was talking about his brother the whole time, and gave the tape. But his brother was actually good, good at writing music. And it was the idea of putting the value on the assistant, who truly holds all of the power.
Oh,
All
yeah.
of it. They run the world.
That's the secret. Yeah.
And putting that amount of value, like, let me just take you out for lunch. Let's just go have this conversation. And his brother, like, we're going to introduce you to the writing team. And his brother has written a few hits for Amy Grant. And now it's, Wayne and Kerry Kirkpatrick, and they've done 1,000.
Right.
But it's that idea of placing the value on, in the place where people don't place the value.
Yeah.
And you're right. Like what you said about Justin.
Yeah, that assistant story there's another like very practical, easy tip. I have had up until recently, when my manager left this company, I had like they were number 2 on the IMDb star meter, was my management company. For those of you guys who rate things by IMDb star meters, I guess. But in any case, like big old company, and my manager's awesome. And I can get a hold of him if I need to get a hold of him, of course. But it's just that, like, who I actually dealt with, who sent me the booking information, who would solve the problems if I didn't know where I was supposed to go, or that I had got stuck in charge, whatever. It was always the assistant. So I made that dude my best friend. Because my manager has a job and he's going to do his job. He has the assistant to help him do his job. So I help him do his job, the manager, when I help the assistant do his job and make him happy and take care of him. So I never, ever once in my life ever got hey, listen, he's not available or anything like that. I get put through immediately. And it's because I take care of my homeboy. And we're buddies and we're friends, and he shows up at this thing. And like, I had a reading that we were doing at the Soho House, and it was like a big fancy event that we were doing for this new script. And he like calls all of his friends and rallies the troops. And it's every assistant at every other big giant management company. So now I have the decision makers in 5 years in my room.
Yeah.
Nothing's happened yet, but in, I guess, now 3 years or in 2 years, all those people start being the managers, the agents, the decision makers, the studio people. What a good chunk of particularly actors, and I think there's a reason for that, whichever, if I remember that I have a reason, I'll come back to it. But I think what a lot of people do is they just don't treat those people with respect, and can't understand then why there seems to be all these barriers between them. And I think what happens with actors is we are told, because we have this sort of ephemeral thing that we do, that it's our body is our instrument. There's no real objective measure of how fast I can play the skills, right? The scales. Even with dance, it's like, okay, well, how high can I get my leg up? But like with I'm going to just sit here and I'm going to have an emotion in front of you.
Right.
That's kind of hard to measure. And so we go through, we climb that mountain of crap often. And so if we ever get to the top, that awful experience of trying to climb that mountain of crap often leaves us feeling egotistical and entitled, like almost rightfully so, like, damn right, I'm at the top of the mountain of crap. I climbed that damn thing, you know? The problem is that's how you get the people screaming their heads off, and you hear all these stories about actors who are on set acting like assholes. Yeah. It's because what they had to do to get there, what they felt that they had to do to get there, or what they did do to get there, leaves this bad taste in their mouth. And I've worked on so many sets where, like, oh man, the lead's in the massage chair and we can't get her right now to set right now. Oh my gosh, like that's every single time I've done everything. Bill Macy, William H. Macy. Yeah. Oh, Bill, because he introduces himself as Bill. We're on set. That guy takes the van with the guest stars. So I'm in the van with Bill Macy, and he just strikes up a conversation, and he ends up playing his ukulele for me. He's like, do you mind if I sing? He's got a little ukulele, carries around with him to make himself feel good. And like, that's why everybody loves Bill Macy. Mm-hmm. That's why everybody wants to work with him. That's why he's had a career that has never been in danger of not happening. Yep. Because he's the kind of guy that shows up, and no matter who you are, or if you're going to be there for a day or a week, or you're a series regular, He's like, yo, I like playing the ukulele. Mind if I sing you a couple songs?
Yeah.
And so, like, you can start that now. You don't have to be in power to be a nice person. And trust me, if you got to power and not being a nice person, power's not going to now all of a sudden
but you know
open
what's
up
interesting
door
is
to niceness.
that when somebody becomes mean, when they get to the actual top, here's what's actually interesting. That's not their actual point of view. They are mirroring what they think success looks like.
Yep. I think that's
It's
true.
like it's like a hyper conservative point of view, right? Like I hate so and so. That's not you. You were taught that. But here's the crazy part. I don't even get mad at it being taught. I get mad that you took it upon as your valence.
Yeah.
I got mad that you took it upon as your sort of aura because you went, well, in order to be successful, I have to not return phone calls. Let me explain something about the couple
Power
of
move.
7-figure earners that I actually have that are very, very close friends of mine. It's strange. Whenever I talk with them, they're like this. That's amazing. They're so into listening to me that I have to remind myself that they could purchase Manhattan. I mean, it's an over exempt of things. But once again, he's playing the ukulele and everybody wants to work with him. What we see advertised to us or whatever it is the flashy, disrespectful, whatever it is, women are beneath me, blah, blah, blah. Those days are over. They're over. And so what's happening now is men of integrity, men of ethics, men of, being faithful, talking about their woman as their queen. No more of this ball and chain and not even joking about it. That's the new. And what's starting to happen is more men are finding other men like that. And they're becoming like these powerhouse guy groups where I've had, seriously, women that are single friends of mine who were looking at pictures of like the men that I run with going, when can I hang out with you guys? Like they just want to be around that because that essence of, wow, I'm going to be validated. I'm going to be respected. It's huge.
Yeah.
It's huge.
If you enter into any relationship thinking, what am I going to get out of this? You're done. Because you might get what you want out of it. But there's a point where that stops becoming a thing and then you get angry because they're not giving you what you want.
When you just said relationship, did you mean personal or professional?
I meant all of them.
Because I heard it as personal, and then I was like, this is so valid for professional because we tend to differentiate between the two. Oh, I can act a certain way in my bedroom than I can in the office. And it's like, no. It's the same.
Yeah, this is stuff we all know. This should not be magic news to
No, it's
anybody.
not.
If you're dating somebody,
it is.
how do you do a good date? You treat them right.
Yeah.
That's what you do. You show up, you treat them right, whatever that looks like for you in your circumstances.
Yeah,
it's the same damn thing in the industry and all this kind of stuff. We're fed these images and these stories and these myths about how power is brokered and we buy into it and then we wonder why it's not working. Well, it's not working because that's not how human beings are.
Yeah.
We are herd animals. We are biologically designed to try to look out for each other. We have these things called mirror neurons in our head, which is that if I see Nathan Reid crying, I may not cry, but the parts of my brain that affect crying literally light up. Like they become active. And so it's in my interest to get quite literally on the same brain wavelength with him, not to be in conflict with him, not to try to squelch that biological thing. And so the opposite is true. If I'm really enthusiastic, if I'm passionate, if I'm helpful, if I'm engaged, if I'm listening, if I'm here to bring value into somebody's life, literally their brain lights up in the same way my brain is lighting up. Like, guys, this is science. This is not magic stuff. This is called mirror neurons. This is how we got empathy as a species. It's happening to them on the other side of the table.
Yeah.
And the crazy thing about it is like the best thing you could ever do for yourself is do the best things for the other people. I know we keep repeating it. I mean, it's probably at this point people are like, why do they keep saying the same damn thing over and over again?
Yeah.
But because I want you to hear that, like, this is not a magic path. We are not gurus. You don't know who we are. We are not famous.
Yeah.
We know that. You might have skipped this episode because it's like, I don't know who Nathan Reid and Justin Giddings are. They can't do anything for me. I'm going to challenge that. I'm going to say that it might be that this interview, if you can actually take these truths and integrate them in our lives, I may never be directing a studio film. I might die tomorrow in a car accident, but there might be the chance that this information actually has more of an impact on your career and your legacy as an artist and a human being than here's how I started my studio. Not to denigrate anybody else, but I think it's all part of that.
It
map
wraps
and
up
that
in our conversation yesterday, which was so funny, is when you said, I need horror film scripts that are under $1 million. I do something very, very rare that I'm in my mind, there are two classifications of writers. There's probably more, but in my mind, there's two.
Yeah.
There's like literally the person who is writing for Game of Thrones, and that's what they do. They write the Transformers movies. They write. And then there's that writer, and then there's me. And what I do is I have one idea about every 2 years, and that thing gets made.
Yeah,
Right?
Yeah.
I love them, and we need them. So I'm a different classification of writer. So I had another one, which has been about 2 years.
Yeah, it has
and
been, yeah.
and he was like, and I said, oh, you need something that takes place in one location that can be shot for under $1 million? I said, I have something for you. He goes, hit me. And I told him what the movie was, and he goes, that has to be made.
Yeah, no, literally. Yes, I'm like, oh, great. Yeah, that checks every box. Thank you. So, I'm going to hook up with my writing partner, Ryan Welsh. We're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about what level of pitch deck we want to put together in trailer. I might hit him up to do some of that work. And then we take that to my financier person. I may not have anything to do with this project ever, but I've actually got 4 people to take it to. And so any one of them might say yes, but even if they don't, again, I've walked into the room with somebody else's property because I think, hey, I remember you saying you needed this. Do you still need this? Do you still want this?
Yeah.
Here's some materials to help you decide whether or not this is something you want to move with. Yeah. Oh yeah, no, we did all that work on our own for free, and then you know, we'll see
and
what
I'm
happens.
also and that's also another thing about like really dropping the ego is that I go, I will have these, I mean, just like crazy big ideas. And I go, I'm not the right writer for that.
Yeah.
So I went and hired Curtis Clark, who wrote for Frank Bedore, who did The Looking Glass Wars, which is like a New York Times best-selling graphic novel. And I was like, I'm going to hire you. So a problem sometimes with artists and creators and whatever it is you think you have the best idea ever. And there's nothing wrong with doing that.
Yeah.
But I have the execution to go, I will pitch an idea to Justin. Know that it's perfect. Know that he may take it and completely develop it. And I'll catch up with him just a couple of months later. And he'll be like, oh, by the way, we're moving forward with your actual script. And I'll be like, cool. I haven't asked for a contract.
Right.
I haven't asked for what my back end points are. Because when you create enough at the level that you and I are creating, I know what a standard deal memo looks like. I know what my back end points should be. I know what my writer's compensation could be because I don't act in scarcity. That's the problem, is you're being taught, listeners, if you're still listening, you guys are being taught scarcity by the industry to where, you know, I've had so many people and I just literally take my hand and I smack it against my head because they go, well, I'd love to introduce your script to my financier guy, but we have to sign an NDA first. Let me tell you guys something. Let me just, if you're listening to this, if anyone ever asks me to sign an NDA, I know that your contact isn't legitimate.
How do you know? That's going to be your next thing.
Yeah, because here's the thing. Clayton, you and I just met.
Yeah.
Right? Lots of rapport. Lots of trust. I'd have no problem hitting up
2 minutes in this apartment,
my
I'm
biggest contacts and be like, you should go and sit down with, like I could call them and just be like, you should sit down with Clayton, like if they're in New York or whatever it is. Okay? Right. The reason why we have that rapport is because we immediately know that we see eye to eye. Yeah. Right? So let's say that you, after this podcast, pitch something to Justin. Great. Do it. Now, the scarcity person goes, whoa. Are you getting a part of that deal? Are you getting like a finder's fee? Are you getting like a...
Oh, right. To you, right? Hey, Nathan, did you get a percentage of that?
What am I going to get?
Exactly. Yeah. That's the short game. The thing is that Justin Giddings is my best friend. I have a feeling he would probably tell me if he did a deal with you. And that's the part that's really funny. If I have some rich uncle who's got billions of dollars and just looking to pour them into whatever he wants to do it, I probably, because he's my uncle, will know if he ends up pouring money into such and such. Yeah. So if you have some big contact, if your cousin is J.J. Abrams or Steven Spielberg or whatever it is, and you set up a meeting, there's no way that the result of that isn't going to come back to help you. Yeah. And even asking for something is too short-minded. Yeah. It's too short-minded. And it's very, very difficult to learn because you have to have not only enough irons in the fire, but when you're moving at a state of action where you just have not bookings, but like meetings after meetings after meetings after meetings, you're actually not even focused on the thing that happened at 11:30. So the challenge is that we are taught complacency as a culture. We are taught laziness. We are celebrating 4-hour workdays. We are celebrating getting 3 weeks off. We're taught to be average.
Yeah.
We're taught that.
And to fall in line.
Yeah, and to fall in line. And then when you meet a couple people like us, it scares the bejesus out of you. But I'll give you a great example that led her into, and you could ask her about this, led her into the best thing ever. She's thanked me profusely. Kennedy Coggle is like a Broadway star. She is. And I was at a Broadway Sings event, pouring into friends, because I had a friend who was singing, and I didn't care if there was a drink minimum or a food minimum. I'm going. So I show up, and I'm heading upstairs, and I run into a mutual friend, Jenny. And Jenny's like, "Oh my God, Kennedy, you should meet Nathan Reid." And I was like, "Hey, nice to meet you. How are you?" And Jenny goes, "Nathan's a filmmaker and a producer and a really, really awesome guy." And Kennedy's like, "Oh, well, if you need someone that does like 5 different kind of martial arts, let me know." And I stopped her, and I went, "I do." And it was how I stopped her that she went, "Oh, he's not playing around."
Right.
And I went, "Let's set up a meeting, set up a time. Awesome to meet you. So cool. Here's my
do your
number.
thing. I'm not going to keep talking to you. Yep.
Whatever." Night goes on.
Yeah.
3 days later, we run into each other again at a bar that all the beautiful cast members were going to.
Yeah.
I gave her a little bit more of the thing. I said, "You and I are going to sit down for a pitch meeting in 3 days," and whatever it is. When she showed up at the meeting, I had the director on a video call, and we told her she was the lead in a brand new comic book series that was being pitched to the highest of highs. And she's the lead.
And not only that, you know what I wrote? Because can I bring up the Kickstarting part of all that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So they end up doing a Kickstarter campaign for the first 5-8 minutes of this pilot. And the person who showed up on my timeline the most was Kennedy. And I thought that was kind of crazy because like a lot of people, actors do this. Oh my gosh, actors, listen to this. If you are on a crowdfunding campaign, do not be the weakest link in the chain. Be the strongest link in the chain, because not only does that actually help the thing get made, which if you don't get the money, it doesn't, you don't have a part anymore. But also what happened with Kennedy was that she is on my radar in a major way, and she doesn't even know it. But every time she talked about that project, she was excited and authentic, and there was no desperation there or anything like that. And I bet she did that because obviously she trusted you and that vision. But part of that, I think, came from, like, there's been no bullshit yet. So she can throw herself fully into what many people on the face of it can view as an unpleasant experience, because she's like, no, it won't be. I got the people. I've got, I'm training you guys. You're running this, and you've done it yourself $1 million as well. I can trust this and do this. So, like, going back to that reputation thing, right?
Yeah.
So now you've got actors who are at the top of their game, actively working to help your vision come true because of your reputation.
Yeah.
And now I can call Nathan and I'd be like, "Yo, I've got this new short. It's this thing that like I want to do for my grandfather who passed away. I don't know what it looks like yet. I need some special effects."
I remember this conversation.
You know what I mean? I was like, I got some stuff. I don't know when yet because I got to get some money together. But I'm planting that seed. And he's like, "I got you, buddy. You let me know when the steps are there."
Yeah.
The one thing that you actually said to me, which was really funny, is I was quoted this crazy rate for something that he needed done. It was the wings.
Yeah.
He was like, I'm being quoted, like he needed to make like these X-Men style, like crazy thing. And like he was getting quoted like $30,000. And I went, 1 second. Nope. That guy will send them to you for about $4,500. And that's what he does. And he makes them in like Norway or whatever. Right. They spread out. He is the guy that is hired by all the major companies and corporations for all the big Comic-Cons. So the studios are contacting him because he builds them. He builds them to actually expand. So I just saved him $25,000.
Trailer. So my sci-fi that's about to come out is called Outpost. And the trailer is on YouTube, but you can just go to outpostthefilm.com. But in any case, that happened because Okay, so we raised about $64,000. $20,000 of it ended up getting stolen and wasted through neglect. It actually ended up in a lawsuit. So now our budget's like minus fees from crowdfunding, all this kind of stuff, like $30,000 for this 15-page epic sci-fi short. And I'm not bragging. You're gonna watch it and you're gonna go, "Oh my gosh, this is like level 10 CGI." The trailer went kind of viral. It's got like 50,000 views or something like that. No names or anything like that. The way we got that VFX guy was something called Mandy.com, which if you're in the industry, this is a like cast and crew Craigslist kind of thing. And because we didn't have a VFX guy in our network at that time. And we're seeing all these reels come up, and we're having a couple of conversations, and everybody's like, I charge $3,500 a shot and all this kind of stuff. So this name pops up, Paul Latta. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And his reel starts, and it's like Harry Potter, Prometheus. I mean, literally like Chronicles of Narnia. And I'm like, I turn to my partner, I'm like, this is never happening.
Yeah.
Come to find out, he's this British national. He just left, I think MPC is the big company, MEC, something like that. Like the people who do the VFX in the UK.
All right.
Just moved to Los Angeles. We were his first gig as a freelancer. And this is like Craigslist, right? First gig, and we have this conversation with him. At the end, he goes, the money you're paying me is about $150,000, or excuse me, the job that you're asking me to do is about $150,000 job. I will do it for you for whatever number you need it to be because I like you guys. I trust you guys. I want to be a part of this vision. Just know that I have to do it on my own timing because like I'm going to have to take jobs that actually pay the bills commensurate to my experience. Mm-hmm. Okay. That movie took 3 years. It was in 3 years of VFX. He did it on his weekends when he could do it. But the end result is a trailer so damn good that we haven't released the movie yet. And we've already been getting... I'm going to this huge event in Los Angeles in, I think, like October, where like literally the people who are showing up are like the heads. I don't know actually if I'm allowed to say anything.
The heads of major corporations that could make a change in the film project.
Exactly. And
Great.
it's me and 4 other people. And it's this like special event charity thing where it is a pitch fest, but instead of me doing some table round thing, it's the names of the people who make the decisions. And we're having that. And it's all expenses paid. Like they're paying for all of it. And like it, that started with that reputation, that whole piece of it.
Yeah.
5 years later, we've got this thing that's there that lives and exists.
tangible.
That's tangible.
So again, he had another problem, which he was like, I got to call Nathan Reid. And so he calls me and he goes, I need, and he's just like the thing that you say, like you're embarrassed to say. He was like, I need a sound stage.
Oh my God, yes. This is such a good story.
See,
right.
we've done this so much, we forget.
Yeah, so it's like, okay, so so the thing about this short is like, I want to build all the sets. We want to build all the sets. We want to build all the costumes. We want to build all the things, right? Right, because like, here's the problem though. Renting the one sci-fi set in LA that everybody else rents and it all looks the same is like, you know, $1,500 or $2,000 a day or some crazy number or something like that. And so we went to it, we looked at it, it was kind of dirty and it was going to be a whole thing. And they know who, you know, they know they've got the only standing spaceship set. And so they can charge what they charge. So I said to Nathan, I was like, we're going to build our own because it's actually cheaper, but I need a space to do it. And all the spaces aren't working. So finish it with.
Yeah. So I called my closest personal friend who directed the Outlier short, whatever it is. And he was one of the co-heads. His position is just like, it's up there, but like, I've never gotten a full answer.
I don't actually know what it is.
Yeah. And it's from Hollywood Rentals. Which Hollywood Rentals, if you're renting a crane or if you're renting anything that's in Los Angeles, you're probably renting it from Hollywood Rentals. Well, Hollywood Rentals has massive sound stages. And so he called, I think, the owner of it and was like, I need this thing as a favor. And you got like...
Oh, let me tell you what I got. Do I want to say that? No, he won't mind. I can say the number that it cost me.
I'll apologize later.
Okay. So for $5,000, I got a week in a black box sound stage, 100% access to 200,000 square feet of lights and equipment. We had a chance to pre-build and pre-light. My DP, who was 23 at the time, but he's like this incredible Wunderkind, is literally hanging $15,000 a day lights, and he has a row of 12 of them overhanging, just so that we have like the basic coverage light, right? 200,000 square feet of electrics, light, like all that equipment for $5,000. I mean, the amount of the producer that I was working with on that project, she's kind of my go-to person now, Cindy Rice. She was like, "This is the most money I've seen on a set yet in my career," and it cost us $5,000 because we, all this stuff that we're talking about,
and that's his integrity. Once again, going back to his integrity and his ethics, is that you go that if that goes wrong, my relationship is done.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's what people don't understand is that, yes, these are friends. Yes, these are major contacts. But it's like you get one shot. You get one shot with that thing. So if I'm asking for a friend, I am not asking for some unseasoned filmmaker who's not going to put things away, who's going to break things and then just say sorry or whatever it is, right? It's everything. And you just have to kind of label it of going like if you were borrowing Bruce Willis's house
Right.
to shoot at, and that was your friend happened to be Bruce Willis's daughter or whatever. Tell me what you would do in the house.
Right.
If you were filming, you would walk on eggshells. You would make sure it was done absolutely because you know what that means. So what we do for each other as filmmakers is we go, I love him. He's my brother. And I will always tell him that, but we have earned that trust with each other. And that does take time. And that does go back to the reputation question that you actually had. Have the I don't know if my camera's still going. What's up,
dude,
guys?
we're still live.
Even my cousins are tuning in. What's up, guys? You guys have given me more than I could ever possibly understand. They have competitions among each other of who's given me the most for my crowdfunding campaigns.
Awesome.
It's bad.
I wish they were my cousins.
It's terrible. You guys are, they're just amazing. But you're going. I have the reputation that if you need something done, I'm going to do it.
Yep.
I'm not going to ask you for payment. I'm not going to ask you for what I'm getting out of it. I'm just going to do it. And it shocks people, but what they don't realize behind the scenes is that I'm doing that like I'm picking and choosing like I'm married to you or something like that. The two people that I have called the biggest agent contacts that I possibly have who are now repped by them, it's not about talent. And Kennedy Cogle actually happens to be one of them. But it's like, it's not about talent. Talent is everywhere. And you probably know this, and I should know his name, Porter. Billy Porter.
Yeah.
So I know his whole story and have had a chance to talk with him
guy.
and whatever. Oh, great. Everyone wants to work with him. Again, listeners, if you're listening to the example, I'm paraphrasing these types of things, but the casting director that cast Billy Porter in obviously what he won the Tony for in Kinky Boots said, you would have never known this, but your headshot was on our desk for the last 7 years. And we literally were like, when can we give him something that he is perfect for? Yeah. So you guys don't see that part. And I know that sounds a little bit like, hoorah, and just keep going. And I hate those types of things because there's nothing actionable behind it because he kept doing the work.
Yep.
But Billy had this great thing, and I'll never forget when he said this. He goes, guys, when you get to Broadway, everyone is as good as you. And he goes, no, listen to what I'm saying. When you walk into a chorus call, you're auditioning against 7 people that just got off of the first national tour of Hamilton or whatever it is. Everyone is good. So now we're not talking about talent anymore.
Yeah.
Now we're talking about, do I want to be in a dressing room with this person for the next year?
Yep.
And I know some personal stories of Broadway actors that have very, very, very bad reputations. And guys, word travels fast. And please don't act like your shit doesn't stink. Because if you think that like, oh my God, because I'm so good and I'm so talented or whatever it is, your cast hates you. And your cast is like ready for you to actually leave. And when you start looking at people that win Tonys and whatever it is, I'm not saying all of them are gems to be around or whatever it is, but the ones that are, you'll find that that's their reputation. That people just praise.
And they work all the time. They're the Bill Macy's who've been in every movie for every director for 40 years. And what do you want at the end? Do you want to be a famous asshole who gets to do a couple of cool things, or do you want to work for 40 years doing this art that you
have one conversation with Jesse Mueller, who won the Tony for Beautiful, and then went on to do Waitress, and then went on, and then went on, and went on. I've had a handful of conversations with her, through my wife, because she did Beautiful. That woman pours into you. That woman, it's incredible. Yeah. So anyway,
I had a conversation. This is how crazy this world we live in is. I'm over at the Dakota, the building where John Lennon was shot, watching a reading of a play about Orson Welles. It was really good. I'm standing in this, living room, 16-foot ceilings, and mahogany pocket doors, what? Yeah. And I'm talking to these two producers, and I'm talking about my podcast, and I said, I had Jonathan Groff on, and he was in, Spring Awakening. He's done a few things here. Some people are familiar with him. Their one story about him was when he was serving them at a restaurant downtown, and how he referred to himself as Jonathan Groff then, and was the consummate professional, kind, generous, courteous in his serving job.
Right.
Not backstage at the Broadway show theater thing. So that's the level of communication and how small the world is and the reputation. And that, I would never have connected the two, where I was with what he was back then to now. It's insane.
Yeah.
But word travels.
There's a massive financier, and he's, I'd say, top 3 of my biggest contacts ever. He literally funded Sin City 2. And I was on and this just goes back to my wife, and I don't know if she's watching. She's probably not, because she's at an event right now. That's my queen. That's my woman. And 11 years ago, I was on a flight to New York, and I sat down, and I was like a giddy freaking school kid. And the guy sitting next to me was like, "You are what are you so excited about?" And I was like, "Well, okay. I've been in love with this girl for 10 years, and we finally are single at the same time, and I'm going to New York, and we have now just started dating, and I have to wait 7 months before I propose to her because I don't want to freak out her parents." And I literally told this guy my entire story.
Yeah.
Just that I'm in love.
This is on the plane?
Yeah, that's on the plane. He doesn't know me. Yeah. And I get done with the conversation, and he goes, "Listen, I'd love to stay in touch." Gives me his card. I look at his card, and I was like, oh shit. Because I realized I just poured out my heart to probably one of the biggest studio heads ever. And I was like, cool. And so I put it away, and then I just decided about 3 years later to email him. And I emailed him, and I was just like, "I don't know if you remember me, whatever it is." And he calls me.
Dude.
And he goes, "So what happened with the girl?"
Oh my gosh, that's actually making me a bit emotional. That's really.
And I went, "She's now my wife. We've been married for such and such, such and such." And he goes, "We should do lunch when you come into LA."
Yeah.
And he helped me get distribution for my first movie that I actually produced. And you forget these things because all I was just doing was just excited about the woman who's now 8.5 months pregnant and about to give me my first kid. But I was talking this level of excitement when I was on a flight. Yeah. And so to circle this all back to art, guys, is the way that Justin and I talk about our women is the way that because Justin's father of 2 and has an amazing wife.
Been married almost 15 years.
Yeah, is we talk that same way about our projects. They're our babies. Yeah. They are things that
things we care about.
We care about them, and we're in love with them. And that means the people that we bring in. And my father years ago told me this thing, and he said, "It won't make sense until it's about to happen." He goes, "Don't have anybody in your life you wouldn't let babysit your kid." And I wasn't.
Oh, I like that. Yeah.
And I wasn't. I wasn't a dad at that point. And I was like, "Oh, that's really, really good advice." And then my wife was about 6 months pregnant, and it was really showing. And man, did I do a cool sweep of my circle. Yeah. And I just went, "Who wouldn't I let babysit my kid?"
Yeah.
And I took a look around, and I was like, all the partiers are gone. All the people that bragged about all the pot smoking and whatever it is, gone. It's not that I judge that or whatever it is that I wouldn't let you babysit my kid.
Yeah.
It just keeps.
It's just an easy way to be like, yeah, okay.
It just keeps going back to that. So again, it's what you bring to the table and who you are and how you're known and the value that you want to pour into others. You are valuable, but you're going to have to upgrade yourself. You're going to have to become better. And right before I came upstairs, we were downstairs for about 5 minutes and just chit-chatting. And I was watching a video from Grant Cardone, who's one of my mentors, $600 million in real estate. And he's an amazing man and father. And he said, "Why does everybody keep saying this phrase that I don't want to do something?" They talk about these things, these concepts of well, I don't want to do that. And I don't want to do that. He goes, "What is that?" He goes, what is want? What is that feeling of like that you don't want to do something? He goes, I need to provide for my family. So that's the barometer. And I wrote in this post, and I actually I did post it to my wall, and I think we just went, my phone went dead. It was like, you have no more time, which is totally fine. But he said, and I posted this to Facebook, and I said, there was some stuff that was happening in my fitness business that I was like, man, I don't really want to do that. And I found myself not doing it. And then over the last month, I was doing all those things that I said that I didn't want to do, and my business has tripled. Wow. And so as an artist, we keep saying everything that we don't want to do, and it's this habit. And I think that becomes a bad habit.
Yeah, because once you've added a bunch of things to that list of things you don't want to do, it gets really easy to keep adding to that
What's
list.
left?
Yeah.
2 questions left for you guys.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
1, common piece of incorrect advice that you hear.
Follow your dreams. I would say follow your fears.
Okay.
Man.
I was ready
See,
for that.
I would say explain that, but it makes total sense to me, and I think as a result that'll make sense to everyone else.
Yeah.
Because you should follow your fears.
Follow your fears.
Those are the growing points.
Yep.
The things you're uncomfortable doing. There's 2 different types, right? One is like you're afraid of death, and the other one's you're afraid of with egg on your face, and it's like you should try.
Here's mine. Don't take advice from anybody that you wouldn't trade bank accounts with, family with, faith, and finance.
I like that.
So if you're listening to somebody, if it's your cousin, your uncle, your friend, your whatever, some roommate, some whatever it is, doesn't matter, brother, I don't care. I don't care the relationship. Look at his life, her life, whatever, right? Look at their bank account. Look at their spirituality. Look at their integrity. Look at all the factors of their life.
Who they are.
And if you trade places with them, then you can listen to them. But if your closest friend who's always telling you that he can't go to your concert or he can't buy your album because he doesn't have any money and all these negative statements of lack, scarcity, if you're listening to that person, ready for this? You are that person.
I'd agree with that 100%.
It's kind of
That doesn't
crazy.
mean you can't be their friends. Doesn't mean you can't love that person. But when we're talking about advice on how you're going to get to your plan A, you should be taking it from people who are following their plan A, that you respect, that you admire, that you trust.
And fortunately, we've built up enough trust to where now I can ask people to take a leap of faith. I can ask people to jump off the cliff and build the parachute on the way down. It's the best analogy for being an artist or an entrepreneur or whatever it is. You jump off the cliff and then you start building the parachute. Because everyone wants to look at that.
Guys, on Saturday, we're jumping off the cliff. Are there parachutes? Well, sure. Okay, I'm there.
Do you trust me? All right, let's go.
Great.
Yeah, because in the end of the day, when we just we raised about $70,000 for the Outlier project, and then of course my visual effects supervisor did $150,000 of visual effects for free. So what that would have cost me $500,000 to do what we actually did is every single person who was a talent in that thing. Yeah. This is kind of crazy, and he loves this story because he's like, I don't know how you did that. They had to sign a contract with me that they were contracted to raise a certain amount of money. If they did not hit that mark, they had to cut me a check for the difference. So not only did you have to work for free for 4 months straight to build all this money together to have the projects for your dreams, if you came short, you had to cut me a check.
Oh.
And no one wants to be that level of all in, but everyone sees the poster of the Outlier with Kennedy on the cover and Kiara on the cover and Saeed Bedria from Iron Man, and they're like, "Oh my God, Nathan, how do I get involved in that?" And I was like, "Be willing to do everything you don't want to do."
Yeah.
So that's question 1. What's question 2?
I love that. Final question: the billboard quote. Metaphorically speaking, is there a word or a phrase that you'd put on a billboard for millions of people to see?
Greenlight yourself. Stop waiting for permission to be creative. Greenlight yourself. If I had the money, I would stick a billboard on Hollywood and Vine in Los Angeles that said "Greenlight yourself," right in the center of the place where everybody is telling you, you need me. You got nothing. Without me, you're nothing. I want to put a big giant billboard that's there that's like "Greenlight yourself." Yeah. Big F you to the man.
And the billboard is shaped like a middle finger.
Yeah, exactly.
And it says,
exactly. Greenlight yourself.
Yeah.
Because I think, particularly for an artist, Nobody's gonna give it to you. Nobody's gonna hand it to you. The cavalry is not coming. You have to be your own cavalry. And the crazy thing now is with the digital revolution, you can totally do it.
It's easy.
It is easy. You can shoot it on your iPhone. You can record it in your apartment.
The overhead for this whole project, this thing that I do yearly, currently, after I've invested in all the audio equipment, the overhead, $116.
Right.
And
how many
everyone
people,
asked me,
how many people have you met?
Oh, I mean,
So
priceless.
if I had come to you 10 years ago and said, hey, write me a check for $116 and you get to meet this person, this person, this person, this person, you couldn't have written that check fast enough.
No. And my favorite part is when someone calls me up and says, how do you make money off of the podcast? And I do the thing. And I think you have missed the whole point.
The whole point.
You are not even aiming in north. You are southwest. You're not even going, or like southeast, southwest. I like that.
Yeah.
Southeast. You are not even seeing. You know what I mean? And they're like, it's. You got to make money off it. You're gonna. And the question that no one asks is, how much money have you made indirectly? And I mean, not a crazy, but opportunity, which is priceless. I mean, that is like, no, I don't know. I don't do sponsors. No, I don't do. No. But you have no idea everything on the back end that's actually coming as
the
a result.
conversation that's going to happen when you hit stop.
Yeah.
The conversation that's going to happen between the three of us. It's
going to get exciting.
You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like no one's going to get to hear it.
Yeah.
But that came from, and y'all, I drove 16 hours on Friday, starting at 3 p.m. in Louisville, Kentucky, to get up here. We got in at 5:45 a.m. last night, and then I had an 8-hour day with a documentary crew shooting this seminar that I did, and interviews and all this kind of stuff. Last night, I literally have on my phone a written out text to you that was like, dude, can we push it back an hour? I'm exhausted. And then I was like, delete. This is not how I roll. It's happening at 10. I'm going to be there at 10. And that is the difference. It's why it can even frustrate my wife sometimes. You got to learn how to say no. Okay.
And eventually,
Sure, I can create boundaries for that. But the night before, when I already said yes, no.
Yeah.
A wee bit too late.
Yeah.
And this is part of the thing that I was doing stuff that I didn't want to do. I drove to Virginia to meet for the first time 2 women who had been buying fitness products off of me. And I showed up. They knew I was coming, but I rented a hotel, rented a car, did all that stuff so that I could meet them in person on their soccer field of the game that they were playing. And they just kept looking at me because I brought 2 fitness professionals. One's a pro baseball player and one's a professional fitness athlete. And they were like, I know that you were coming, but what are you doing here? So the impact that took 24 hours.
Yep.
It's not convenient to drive 5.5 hours one way or whatever it is to spend 3 hours with them or whatnot. But those stories, those impacts are going to literally revolutionize your life.
Yeah.
So I'll double down on Justin's thing. It's the exact same thing, which is greenlight yourself.
Yeah.
And my story, which is a kind of a caveat to that, is one of my very, very close friends was getting bad advice from a major agent, like a major one.
Yeah.
Like, we can't get you in for this, and this for X, Y, and Z reasons. Right. And I had another face that I smelled something bad. I went, that doesn't sound right. And so I said, and we are in Los Angeles, and I am telling this person that they are going to fire their representation. Yeah. And I am going to show them why. So I set up, this is so funny because indirectly she took a meeting with my representation, who was immediately ready to take them on. Yeah. And they were like, you let us know when you are ready.
Yeah.
So in LA, in the car with this person, they dropped their representation, and I saw the backlash from the representation. Like, they emailed the backlash. And I was like, ignore it.
Ignore it. 3
weeks later, that person has had more television auditions than they've had in the entire year of being with that person. And then, and if agents, if you're listening to this, I'm not scared of you. I'm just not, is that agent tried to email the person and say, well, because we introduced you to all these major casting directors, we get a percentage of all of that,
No.
of all of that work, and the reaction that I had to her, and I was so glad that she called me to tell me this story as I went. Here's the great part. I was like, I want you to get on the phone with my reps, and I want you to tell them that story. And my reps laughed on the phone with her and then kept sending her out and was like, it's totally fine. So agents, like, against creators, your time is coming, because one of the coolest things that has ever happened to me is
Instagram.
It's so true.
I was called when I was producing my first $500,000 feature film. I was called by CAA, and they were begging to get their clients in my movie. We want to pitch you all of our clients. They're just so great and whatever it is. And I was like, is the power in CAA, or is the power in the thing that I just created and got financed? Because I'll probably be repped by them one day or whatever it is, but whoever decides to rep me at that major agency better know.
They better know.
Like,
heads up.
I'm not afraid of you, and I'm not amused by you or whatever it is, because I'm actually creating the very thing that you are then going to try to cast your clients in. So that sums up.
Yeah.
I love this. I love this conversation. I love the way we've summed it up. I love the topics we've hit, and I love how many times we've hit them over the head. Because anyone who listens to this in its entirety, beyond a shadow of a doubt, will leave understanding what it is that makes you guys move forward, how you tick, what you're not afraid of.
Yep.
And I love it. So thank you.
Yep.
Where can we
Thank
find
you.
you guys?
Yeah, so I'm / Justin Giddings on all the social media. And then I've got the Kickstarter guy, which is thekickstarterguy.com. And I've got a new social media growth tool called Social Bunny. Your social media presence multiplied. So that's socialbunny.io.
Great.
And I am on Facebook, on Instagram. Reinventing Films has a Twitter. I'm easiest to contact at reinventingfilms@gmail.com. But because I'm everywhere and have such a social media presence, just literally look up Nathan Reid, REID, and I'll be the first one that pops up on Facebook. And you'll see the Reinventing Films link. That's how Clayton found me. And then on Instagram, I apologize for all the shirtless nudity. It's pretty bad. It's really
Gets a
bad.
lot of likes, though.
It gets a lot of. There's no clothes on my Instagram, and that's NREID276, and of course at Instagram, all that fun stuff. This was awesome. Thanks, guys.
This has been great.
This
Really.
this is I've done maybe 20, 30 podcasts easily. The moment we started talking, before we even obviously started the recording, I was like, this is the jam. This is the real jam.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's good stuff, guys.
Excited.
Yep.
This is fun.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Justin Giddings and Nathan Reid.
Yep.
You've been listening to Entertainment X, the podcast. You can follow Entertainment X on Instagram at _EntertainmentX_. If you haven't yet, go to Apple Podcasts and subscribe, rate, and review this podcast. Join Clay next week for another curiosity conversation on Entertainment X. Thank you for listening.